Hello, viewing audience today. My name is Paul Norfolk. I'm a storyteller, spoken word artist. Today I was hoping to talk to you about subjects that people are talking about, namely social justice, but I also want to talk to you about Dred Scott and the Civil War. So today we will explore the various opinions of what different individuals have stated they believe social justice to be. What exactly is social justice according to these various opinions? Did social justice exist in Dred Scott's day? Is social justice an issue in our day? And if so, are there any good solutions to the questions raised surrounding the social justice issue? But first, what exactly is social justice to some people? One definition describes social justice this way: the fair and proper administration of laws conforming to the natural law, that all persons, irrespective of ethnic origin, gender, possessions, race, religions, etc., are to be treated equally and without prejudice. We also have an illustration of one person's idea of what exactly they believe social justice to be. It states, imagine that you have been selected to help design a new society. You made sure that there were laws for citizens to follow so that people were not wronged by other individuals. In fact, let's say you use very much of the same legal inspiration that the founders of the United States used, namely the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. You would also make sure that there were schools and hospitals for people who needed education or health care. In fact, you would also make sure that there were plenty of places of worship so that people who were religious felt at home. In short, you'd want to build institutions that were available to people. But who would get to use said institutions? Would you limit some groups to only using certain institutions or only having access to those institutions on certain days of the week? Or would you completely ban certain groups, saying that you didn't want them in your society? Now, if this sort of thing had been done by an individual, it would be a crime. After all, it is illegal to stand in front of a hospital and prevent someone who is gravely injured from having access to a doctor. However, what if it were the hospital itself? This idea that institutions should be freely and equally available to individuals is known as social justice. Circumstances such as where a person is born, where they live, or their gender, ethnicity should never determine their income or their opportunities for quality education, basic health care, decent work, adequate shelter, access to drinking water, political participation, or living free from threatened or actual physical violence. In light of all that's been stated, we can imagine that social justice was an issue in Dred Scott's day. Why so? Well, first of all, Dred Scott was an African American man living in America at a time period when America was practicing enslaving African Americans. Dred Scott himself was one of those victimized by this practice. During this time period, there were those that utterly abhorred enslaving Americans or African Americans. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there were those that not only felt that they could not live without slaves, but were willing to even die to keep their slaves. Although being enslaved, Dred Scott's owners allowed him to marry and have family, but yet still their owners could take him, his wife, or his children and sell them off or rent them out whenever they choose to do so. Because slaves were considered to be just property, just like a person owns a car or computer or something. Simply just property to do as the owner of that property pleases with. And when it came to his children, some people believe that this idea of renting Dre's children out to people, whom then can do as they please with, did not sit well with Dred Scott and his wife. So some historians believe that she encouraged him to try to buy his freedom. When Dred Scott's owners refused to sell him his freedom, in 1846, Dred Scott filed legal suit in St. Louis Circuit Court. The case was brought to trial in 1847, right down here in this old courthouse downtown St. Louis. But due to legal technicalities, a new trial was ordered, and a second trial was held again, right here in the same courthouse downtown St. Louis. The jury decided that the Scotts were entitled to their freedom under Missouri law. However, Scott's owner, Miss Emerson, appealed her case to the Missouri State Supreme Court, which then reversed the ruling made in St. Louis, and the Scotts were returned to servitude. Dred filed in more courts until it ended up in the United States Supreme Court.